The story revolves around a kind-hearted boy named Kamado Tanjiro who lives in a remote mountain area and sells charcoal for a living. He lives with his mother and siblings, shouldering most of the household chores since his father passed away. One night, while returning home late after selling charcoal, due to bad weather in the darkness of the night, he was invited by a man named Saburo to eat and stay overnight at his house to avoid being attacked by men-eating demons. That night, Saburo explained to Tanjiro about the existence of demons and demon slayers, cautioning him to be careful when going out at night. The next morning, Tanjiro bid farewell to Saburo and set off on his way back home. Along the way, his keen sense of smell detected the scent of blood nearby. Sensing something amiss, he hurriedly ran towards the source and was greeted by a horrifying scene that made him scream out in agony. Not only his mother, but also his siblings had been brutally attacked by someone. However, one of his siblings, Nezuko, still had a faint pulse, so Tanjiro carried his sister through the snowstorm in search of help. But on the way, Nezuko slowly transformed into a demon and attacked him. Just when the situation seemed dire, the water Hashira named Jiu arrived in time to save him. Jiu wanted to kill Nezuko, but Tanjiro felt that his sister still retained her humanity and pleaded with him to spare her life. It was at this point that we learned how demons multiply their numbers by having their blood come into contact with the human's wound, turning them into demons. A conflict arose between Tanjiro and Jiu, as Jiu wanted Tanjiro to become stronger to protect those he cherished. He stabbed Nezuko, which made Tanjiro unable to stay still any longer. Tanjiro rushed towards them, but Jiu quickly subdued him. However, Jiu realized that Tanjiro possessed an extraordinary combat sense and decided to spare them. After waking up, Jiu instructed them to meet an old man named Sakonji Urakodaki at the foot of Sajiri Mountain. Jiu warned Tanjiro not to let Nezuko be exposed to sunlight and then left. Tanjiro also began holding his sister's hand as they set off on their journey. The next morning, Tanjiro made a backpack for his sister so that she could hide inside. Although the sun was beginning to set, Tanjiro was determined to continue. Along the way, he noticed the scent of blood coming from a shrine by the road. Out of his inherent compassion, he and his sister rushed towards it, only to witness a massacre caused by a demon. The demon swiftly attacked Tanjiro, but he quickly counterattacked with a hatchet to its neck. Unconcerned, the demon's wounds rapidly healed. Nezuko, affected by the smell of blood and flesh, managed to regain control of herself and protect her older brother. With just a single kick, the demon's head detached from its neck. However, it remained alive and continued to fight in a headless form. After an intense battle, Tanjiro successfully impaled the demon's head onto a tree trunk, but he realized that this was not the demon responsible for his family's massacre. While he hesitated about whether to kill the demon, an old man suddenly appeared and said that the sword would not be able to kill it. As the sun began to rise, the demon gradually vanished under its light. The old man introduced himself as Urakodaki Sakonji, the one who had trained Tanjiro to become a demon slayer. However, he also presented several challenges. If Tanjiro allowed his innocent sister to kill humans, then he himself would have to kill Nezuko and be killed as well. Afterward, the old man led Tanjiro back home. On the way, Tanjiro vowed to himself that he would turn his sister back into a human and buy her the most beautiful kimono, something he could not do for his mother and siblings. After leaving his sister at Sakonji's house, Tanjiro's first challenge began. The old man took him to a mountain, and Tanjiro's task was to descend the mountain and return to Sakonji's house before dawn. After saying so, the old man disappeared without a word. Tanjiro thought this task would be easy, as he remembered the scent of Sakonji's house. But life is not like a dream. Along the way, there are numerous traps prepared by Mr. Sakonji. He begins to feel dizzy and blurred because the air here is way too thin, but with a calm temperament, he adjusts his breathing and sniffs the scent of the traps. Thanks to that, he managed to evade most of them and overcome the difficulties, and he finally arrived at Mr. Sakonji's house before dawn. Recognizing his determination and Jiu's heartfelt words in the letter, he decides to accept him as his disciple. In the following days, Tanjiro continued his diligent training. Here, a secret about the demon species was revealed. Although their origins were unknown, they were incredibly powerful and had the ability to heal wounds in the blink of an eye. They could only be defeated under sunlight or by a sword with a special strength that decapitated them. The Demon Slayer Corps consisted of humans who fought against these demons to protect humanity. To join the Demon Slayer Corps, swordsmen had to participate in the final selection on Mountain Fujikasani. Tanjiro recorded his training days in his journal. Every day, he ran down the mountain, encountering increasingly dangerous traps. Over time, he grew stronger and more agile, while his sense of smell improved significantly. He began to learn sword techniques, breathing techniques, and how to harmonize with water. Meanwhile, Nezuko had been unconscious for half a year. Despite visiting doctors, her illness remained undetected, causing Tanjiro to worry about his sister's life. Tanjiro continued his rigorous training, and 1 year later, his master, Sakonji Urakodaki, led him to a large rock. He laid down a condition: if Tanjiro could split this rock in half, he could participate in the final selection. After uttering those words, Master Sakonji departed, no longer teaching him anything. Despite failing in his attempts to cut the rock, Tanjiro persevered in his daily training. After 6 months of desperate training, a masked boy named Sabito suddenly appeared. He used harsh words to provoke Tanjiro, and even with a wooden sword, he can easily beat Tanjiro. They engaged in a fierce battle, and Sabito demonstrated where Tanjiro had been training incorrectly. Overwhelmed, Tanjiro collapsed, and Sabito called for a girl named Makomo to help him. Makomo pointed out Tanjiro's weaknesses and provided guidance on how to improve. She also revealed that a person's breath could increase their strength to match that of a demon, and the only way to attain that power was through intense training. After another half-year of training, Tanjiro challenged Sabito once again. He took a deep breath, and with a single strike, he split Sabito's mask in half. Sabito smiled, congratulated him, and vanished along with Makomo. Looking back at his sword, Tanjiro saw that he had successfully split the rock in two. He had succeeded. After splitting the rock, Master Sakonji had no intention of letting Tanjiro participate in the final selection because he didn't want any more of his disciples to lose their lives in that exam. He praised Tanjiro and embraced him, asking him to promise to survive the final selection. After dinner, Tanjiro cut off his long hair, and the master gave him a warding mask. He revealed the existence of demons, explaining that their strength is proportional to the number of humans they consume, and that they can only be killed by a specially forged sword called the Nichiren blade, striking them in the neck. The next morning, after bidding farewell to the master, Tanjiro set off for the final selection. It was also revealed that Sabito and Makomo were former disciples of the master who perished in that same exam. Upon arriving at the destination, Tanjiro encountered numerous other candidates, when suddenly a twin pair appeared and announced the rules of the exam. If anyone could survive for 7 days here, they would pass the selection exam. As night fell, Tanjiro immediately sought a hiding place and waited for dawn. Along the way, he was unexpectedly attacked by the demons, but he remained calm and successfully defeated them using the water-breathing technique. Thinking that everything was over, Tanjiro then encountered a gigantic demon. Despite being afraid, Tanjiro remained composed and used the water-breathing technique to slash through the demon, successfully rescuing another swordsman. This demon had existed for several decades, consuming a total of 50 people, including 13 disciples of Master Sakonji. Sabito and Makomo, the two siblings, were brutally killed by him. After hearing the demon's words, Tanjiro couldn't bear it any longer and rushed to attack, but his emotions overwhelmed him, causing him to be thrown far away and lose consciousness. Just when the demon thought he was dead, Tanjiro rose again and evaded the attack. With the demon's rapid recovery and swift attacking abilities, Tanjiro was unable to do anything against the demon. However, with a moment of focused breathing, using his water-breathing technique, he successfully decapitated the demon. As the demon was defeated, he recalled memories of his past as a human and gradually vanished. In the following days, Tanjiro continued to fight against demons to survive. Finally, the 7 days passed, and he successfully survived along with 3 other people. Twin who initially appeared congratulated them. It was revealed that within the Demon Slayer Corps, there are 10 ranks, and they were currently at the lowest rank. Each person would have their own sword, but it would take 15 days for the swords to be forged. Additionally, they each had a crow companion to deliver messages, except for the boy in the yellow robe, who had a sparrow instead of a crow. A young man in a purple robe, eager to obtain his own sword, confronted one of the girls, but Tanjiro intervened, causing the man to back off. The 4 swordsmen then selected their respective types of steel for sword forging. When he returned to his master's house, Tanjiro was delighted to find that Nezuko had woken up. Master Sakonji was also present and embraced both of them. That night, Master Sakonji revealed to Tanjiro that some demons can use a special technique called Blood Demon Technique, making them much harder to defeat. 15 days had passed, and Tanjiro's sword was finally forged. The color of the sword would change depending on its owner, and Tanjiro's sword turned black, a rare color. The Crow Messenger also delivered Tanjiro's first mission, which was to head to a town in the northwest to investigate the mysterious disappearances of young girls. The next morning, Tanjiro received a wooden box from his master, Sakonji, as a farewell gift, wishing him safety. He began his mission and recalled his master's tale about a demon named Mugen Kibutsuji, the first demon and the one responsible for slaughtering his family. Upon reaching the town, Tanjiro encountered a young man named Kazumi, who had been walking around like a soulless being since losing his girlfriend. Tanjiro also heard rumors about the disappearances of young girls in the town, so he decided to ask Kazumi about his girlfriend's disappearance. When they arrived at the site of the disappearance, Tanjiro sensed a faint demon scent in the area. He continued to investigate the town until evening. As night fell, the first girl began to be attacked, and Tanjiro immediately rushed to her aid. Using his keen sense of smell, he plunged his sword into the ground and successfully rescued the young girl. The demon also revealed itself, consisting of 3 entities, and being the one who murdered Kazumi's girlfriend. Using its ability to hide underground, the demon attacked unpredictably and made it difficult for Tanjiro. Nezuko also appeared to support him. The demon continues to create difficulties for Tanjiro using his blood demon technique. Tanjiro determined to eliminate them and entrust the protection of Kazumi to Nezuko. Tanjiro decides to infiltrate the demon's lair. The 2 demons also launch an attack on Tanjiro, but thanks to his relentless training on the mountain and underwater, he activates the water-breathing technique, 6th form, successfully slaying both demons. Meanwhile, on the ground, Nezuko is still fighting one of the remaining 3 enemies. Both sides fight evenly matched, and for a brief moment, Nezuko is injured. Fortunately, Tanjiro arrives in time to rescue her. After the demon loses the ability to fight, Tanjiro starts interrogating him about Mugen, the only one who knows how to turn Nezuko back into a human. The demon's face immediately changes, filled with fear upon hearing that name. He tries to counterattack, but is swiftly defeated by Tanjiro's gentle sword strike. Tanjiro then approaches Kazumi, giving him a memento of his deceased girlfriend and encouraging him to keep on living. Afterward, Tanjiro leaves with the determination to track down Mugen. The Crow Messenger informs him of his next mission in Tokyo. Overwhelmed by the city's development, Tanjiro wanders around the town until he stops at a noodle shop for dinner. However, his meal is interrupted when a familiar scent passes by, the same scent he smelled when his family was massacred. Immediately, he stands up, grasping his sword, and follows the scent until he finally catches up to the source. The person's gaze confirms everything. He is Mugen. Tanjiro intends to attack with his sword, but hesitates when he sees that Mugen is carrying a child. Mugen is disguised as a human, concealing his true identity. With a single gentle scratch, he turns a passerby into a demon and starts attacking those around him. Tanjiro cannot stand idly by as others are attacked. He rushes to subdue the demon while Mugen takes advantage of the opportunity to escape. Tanjiro also threatens Mugen, vowing to pursue and exterminate him. However, Mugen ignores his threat and leaves. At this moment, the police arrive, trying to prevent them from releasing the demonized teenager. Suddenly, a strange scent surrounds Tanjiro, and 2 individuals step forward, offering to help him. One of them, named Tamayo, reveals herself as a demon with healing abilities. She also desires to defeat Mugen. Mugen summons 2 of his subordinates to eliminate Tanjiro while recalling a past memory of a mysterious swordsman who nearly killed him and wore earrings similar to Tanjiro's. On his way, Tanjiro encounters Yushiro, the young man who was with Tamayo earlier. He is invited to their location, and they pass through a wall, leading to a mansion. Inside, Tanjiro finds Tamayo treating a girl while her demon husband is locked in the basement. After introducing herself, Tamayo reveals that she has regenerated her body to escape Mugen's curse, meaning she can live without consuming human flesh. With her medical skills, she saved Yushiro from the brink of death, allowing him to come back to life as a demon, a feat that only Mugen has been able to achieve for over 200 years. Impressed by Tamayo's benevolence, Tanjiro immediately asks her about the method to turn demons back into humans. However, the antidote is still under research and requires blood from demons for the study. Tamayo requests Tanjiro to collect demon blood to expedite the completion of the antidote. Tanjiro agrees eagerly and expresses his desire for Nezuko to be the test subject once the antidote is ready. Two demons sent by Mugen have also tracked out Tanjiro's location. The first demon possesses the ability to sense the opponent's presence through palm eye marks, while the second demon can attack from a distance using two balls. The second demon begins to attack the mansion, using his long-range ball-throwing ability. The balls move according to the trajectories controlled by the first demon. Unfortunately, Yushiro gets hit and becomes immobilized, but he can still regenerate because he is a demon. Tanjiro assigns Nezuko the task of protecting the girl, while he stays behind to protect Tamayo. Tanjiro successfully blocks one incoming ball, but the ball-throwing demon suddenly grows for additional arms, and now Tanjiro has to deal with 6 balls. The balls keep coming, and even if he manages to slice them in half, they can still attack him. As the situation becomes increasingly difficult, Yushiro gives him a talisman that allows him to see the movement of the balls. Nezuko also arrives to support Tanjiro and quickly searches for the demon controlling the hidden balls. After locating him, Nezuko attacks and successfully breaks the spell on the arrows. Tanjiro seizes the opportunity to activate his third form, water breathing, and successfully cuts off all 6 arms of the ball-throwing demon. However, she regenerates quickly. Nezuko is also at a disadvantage against the strange technique of the demon with the eyes. They decide to split up, with Tanjiro fighting the demon with the eyes while Nezuko and Yushiro take on the ball-throwing demon. Tanjiro charges forward, but gets knocked back by the demon's arrows. Nezuko and Yushiro also struggle as they continuously get hit. Tanjiro manages to match the demon's speed and dodge the attacks, but his sword proves ineffective against the demon's blood demon technique. He decides to use his 6th form of water breathing, creating a water tornado that gathers the arrows and increases the strength of the vortex. He then follows up with his 2nd form, successfully beheading the demon. Despite being decapitated and disintegrating, the demon can still unleash a troublesome technique. After a fierce struggle, the demon finally disintegrates. Tanjiro successfully defeats the demon with the eyes, but he is exhausted and unable to hold his sword. Returning to the battle with the ball-throwing demon, Nezuko has fully recovered and kicks away the balls thrown by the demon. They exchange kicks, sending the balls flying back at each other. Nezuko's kicking power continues to increase, surprising the ball-throwing demon. Suddenly, Tamayo interrupts the conversation and reveals the true nature of Mugen, stating that she is just a pawn controlled by him. Provoked, the demon reveals Mugen's name and falls into Tamayo's prepared trap. Any subordinate who dares to mention Mugen will be swallowed by a curse, and the curse is activated, leading to the demon's demise. After obtaining the demon's blood, Tamayo departs, and at that moment, the sun rises, causing the demon's body to disintegrate. Nezuko has recovered, and for her safety, Tamayo offers to take care of her, but Nezuko refuses to be separated from her brother. Tamayo respects their decision and wishes them a safe journey. The messenger crow informs Tanjiro about the next mission. On the way, Tanjiro encounters the blonde youth, one of the 4 who passed the final selection exam. He is pleading with the young girl to become his wife, and his messenger Sparrow delivers his plea for help to Tanjiro, and he agrees to assist. After conversing, we learn that the young man's name is Zenitsu Agatsuma. He is haunted by the obsession of needing to marry someone, to the point of delusions that others are interested in him. He is also incredibly cowardly, and only luckily survived the selection exam. But is that really the truth? Let's continue to find out. While supporting Zenitsu on their journey, Tanjiro shares half of his rice ball with him, despite being very hungry. Zenitsu constantly complains and demands to escape to avoid facing the demons. At the next point, they encounter two frightened brothers. Their elder brother has been abducted by a demon inside a nearby house. Driven by his sense of justice, Tanjiro decides to help rescue their brother. Zenitsu starts to sense a strange sound that even Tanjiro cannot perceive. Suddenly, someone is thrown out of the window, severely injured. After uttering his final regrets, he can no longer survive. Leaving the box containing Nezuko with the 2 brothers, Tanjiro and Zenitsu venture inside the house, although Zenitsu is filled with continuous fear. The interior scene is eerily quiet, and upon hearing a strange noise from the wooden box, the two brothers also follow Tanjiro into the house. A sudden tremor occurs, and after a drum sound, Zenitsu and Tanjiro are separated into different rooms. The demon appears in front of Tanjiro and has devoured numerous people. Meanwhile, Zenitsu is crying and desperately seeking an escape route, but this house is completely under the control of the demon, with no way out. Tanjiro declares his battle against the demon, rushing in, but with a slight strike of the drum, the room tilts 90 degrees. In the midst of confusion, out of nowhere, a person wearing a wild boar mask rushes to his aid, wielding a Nichiren sword, the weapon of a member of the Demon Slayer Corps. Due to his stepping on the girl, the person with the boar mask is thrown far away by Tanjiro. He rushes to attack Tanjiro, but both of them are targeted by the demon. His weapon is the sound of drums, which can manipulate space and unleash powerful attacks. Tanjiro starts to understand the rules of the drum sound and is transported to another room. Zenitsu also confronts a demon, and the two of them desperately flee for their lives. They are thrown into a room, and Zenitsu is injured. Despite that, he tells the boy to run away and not worry about him. Overwhelmed by fear, Zenitsu falls asleep, and the demon seizes the opportunity to strike at the boy. Just as it seems he is about to die, a sword stops the attack. It's Zenitsu. He stands up even while asleep and activates his thunder-breathing technique, the first form. With just one swing of his sword, he decapitates the demon. He then wakes up, confused about what happened. The person wearing the boar mask is now facing a large demon and activates his beast-breathing technique, easily defeating the demon. The past of the drum demon is revealed. He used to belong to the 12 Kazuki, a group directly commanded by Mugen. However, he was stripped of his title by Mugen for not being strong enough. In order to rejoin the 12 Kazuki, he must consume as many people as possible. Back to Tanjiro, the youngest sister is finally reunited with her abducted brother. According to his story, he survived by using the drum, which he accidentally stole, to transport the room whenever the demon approached. Tanjiro instructs the two children to stay in the room while he goes alone to find the demon. He has now understood the demon's techniques and easily adapts to the situation. However, the demon's attacks are still incredibly fast, and Tanjiro's injuries have not fully healed. But remembering his master Sakonji, Tamayo, and Nezuko, he resolves to fight until the end. While lost inside the house, Zenitsu accidentally discovers an exit. Meanwhile, Tanjiro is still struggling to deal with the drum demon. The drum demon recalls memories of his human life when he was a writer, but his works were trampled upon and heavily criticized. Enraged, he relentlessly attacks with significantly increased strength. In an effort to dodge the demon's attacks, Tanjiro does something unexpected. He avoids stepping on the demon's works, which made the demon surprised. Nevertheless, the demon continues his relentless assault, but Tanjiro has now learned how to control his breathing to minimize pain and evade the drum demon's attacks. He activates his water-breathing technique, ninth form, and successfully decapitates the demon. Tanjiro collects blood samples and sends them to Tamayo for research. Afterwards, he brings the two siblings outside and finds Zenitsu fiercely protecting the box containing Nezuko from the boar-masked youth earlier, knowing its importance to Tanjiro. Unable to stand by and watch Zenitsu being attacked further, Tanjiro rushes in and knocks the boar-masked youth away. Unfazed, the youth challenges Tanjiro to a bare-handed fight, and both engage in a battle where the boar-masked youth has the upper hand. He is incredibly agile and fights like a wild boar. In a brief moment, Tanjiro seizes the opportunity to strike him in the head, causing the mask to fall off. Surprisingly, beneath the mask is the cute face of a girl. His name is Inosuke Hashibira, a member of the Demon Slayer Corps, and he's very combative. The impact of Tanjiro's headbutt causes him to faint. When he wakes up, he assists Tanjiro and Zenitsu in burying the deceased. As dusk falls, a messenger bird arrives, informing them of the next rest stop, prompting the group to set off immediately. After bidding farewell to the other three, they arrive at a house which is supposed to be a resting place for demon slayers. Here, they are provided with clothes, food, and a place to sleep. After finishing their dinner, they are examined by a doctor who diagnoses all three with fractured ribs, and Inosuke also has an extra bump on his head. That night, they have heartfelt conversations and grow to understand each other better. Nezuko also comes out of her box to familiarize herself with Zenitsu and Inosuke. Inosuke doesn't pay much attention and goes to sleep, while Zenitsu becomes excited by the beauty of Nezuko. Since that evening, Zenitsu has always tried to woo Nezuko, and the trio of Tanjiro, Zenitsu, and Inosuke have been enjoying playful days together. After a few days, their wounds healed, and the crows brought news and announced the next destination for the group, Natagumo Mountain. After bidding farewell to Granny, the trio set off together. While on the way, they talk, and before they know it, it's already getting dark. As they near their destination, Zenitsu becomes frightened and hesitates to continue, but he reluctantly follows because he's afraid of being alone. On the way, they come across a young man dressed as a member of the Demon Slayer Corps, lying on the road seeking help. As they approach him, a thread from the forest suddenly pulls him back into the woods. Tanjiro and Inosuke immediately give chase, but Zenitsu, paralyzed by fear, remains behind. In the forest, the two sense numerous spider threads surrounding the area and accidentally encounter another member of the Demon Slayer Corps. He expresses concern that Tanjiro and Inosuke won't be able to help much because the demon here is incredibly powerful. According to his account, 10 members of the Demon Slayer Corps who came here yesterday suddenly turned on each other while on the way. Overwhelmed by the opposing force, Jiju and Shinobu were sent away. Zenitsu, worried about Nezuko, can no longer sit still and rushes into the forest. Meanwhile, the teammates from the previous day in the Demon Slayer Corps, who were being controlled by spider threads, are now attacking their own teammate. Tanjiro and Inosuke swiftly sever the threads and successfully free them. However, they are once again ensnared by other spider threads. Inosuke unleashes his beast-breathing 7th form, successfully pinpointing the location of the one controlling the threads. The young man decides to stay behind and hold the enemy captive, allowing Tanjiro and Inosuke to go and defeat the controller. The scene shifts to the location of the thread controller, where she is visibly frightened by a boy named Rui. He threatens her, demanding that she quickly eliminate Tanjiro's group, otherwise, he will inform their father about it. Along the way, Tanjiro and Inosuke encounter other members of the Demon Slayer Corps who are being controlled by threads. Tanjiro comes up with the idea of throwing them up into the trees, which would prevent them from being controlled. However, once their usefulness is exhausted, the thread controller, the mother, terminates her own puppets. The two encounter another headless puppet, which proves to be much stronger than the previous ones. Inosuke gets entangled in the threads due to a hasty attack, but Tanjiro manages to save him just in time. They work together, with Inosuke severing the puppet's arms, and Tanjiro seizing the opportunity to cut off its legs, ultimately defeating it. Tanjiro then uses water-breathing 5th form, gently freeing the unfortunate demon from its suffering. Before dying, she recalls memories of being abused by her husband and ridiculed by her own children. She silently thanks Tanjiro for freeing her and fades away. Zenitsu, while lost, accidentally encounters a human-faced spider. He immediately flees but unfortunately runs straight into its nest. The scent in the air paralyzes him, and a human-faced spider appears from above, informing him that he has been poisoned and his death is only a matter of time. Overwhelmed with fear, he desperately tries to escape, recalling the days when he trained with his master. Back then, he was a weak boy who always avoided training. One day, during an argument with his master, he was accidentally struck by lightning, causing his hair to turn yellow. Since then, he has been ridiculed and humiliated for being a crybaby and disappointing his master, who was once a renowned Hashira. Nevertheless, his master always believed in Zenitsu's potential, even though he could only activate one technique. Returning to reality, Zenitsu loses consciousness, setting the stage for one of the most thrilling scenes in the series. In a state of unconsciousness, Zenitsu's speed and strength are greatly enhanced, and he no longer feels fear but chooses to fight. Zenitsu manages to defeat the human-faced spider, but his body becomes numb due to the effect of the poison. Jiu and Shinobu have also arrived at the scene, splitting up to search for demons to eliminate. Tanjiro and Inosuke are currently facing the spider demon, who is the father of the spider family. His power overwhelms them, and despite their best efforts, they fail to inflict any damage. With a single wave of his hand, Inosuke is sent flying far away. Tanjiro decides to focus his breathing to unleash his special technique, the 10th form, but it proves futile due to the vast difference in power. He is also thrown out of the battle. Meanwhile, Zenitsu is gasping for breath on the rooftop, thinking he is about to die. Suddenly, Shinobu appears from above and detoxifies him. When Tanjiro lands on the ground, he unintentionally witnesses Rui torturing his sister. Tanjiro doesn't hesitate to expose the deceitful lies about their fabricated family relationship created by Rui. Rui becomes enraged, creating immense pressure that leaves Tanjiro on edge. Inosuke, who is trying to escape from the spider father, manages to pierce through his tough skin after a strew. Now it's the demon's turn to flee. Inosuke thought he would weaken, but instead, he undergoes a transformation, increasing his power. He severely injures Inosuke, bringing him to the brink of death. However, Jiju appears just in time to rescue him. With a single technique, Jiju slashes the demon into pieces. Returning to Tanjiro, he is evading the sharp threads of Rui, threads so sharp that they have caused his sword to break upon contact. Tanjiro hardly has a chance to counterattack against Rui's relentless assaults. The threads begin to envelop him, but Nezuko appears just in time to intercept the blows. Rui is moved by the fact that Tanjiro's sister is a demon, sensing the genuine sibling bond between them, and he desires to claim Nezuko for himself. He presents Tanjiro with a choice: surrender Nezuko to him, and he will spare Tanjiro's life. Of course Tanjiro refuses. It is revealed at this point that Rui is a member of the 12 Kazuki, with overwhelming power. He binds Nezuko with his spider threads and beats Tanjiro mercilessly. Tanjiro strives to strike at his neck, but it proves too tough to cut through. Tanjiro gathers his breath and charges forward. Using his special technique, the 10th form, he successfully severs the threads, but Rui's threads begin to turn red and ensnare him. Tanjiro reminisces about his late father, who despite his frailty, was able to perform the Kagura dance under the snow for a long time, doing it every year to pray for peace. His father revealed to him that it was a technique of breathing and the Kagura dance, along with the pair of earrings, were the family's heritage passed down from generation to generation. Returning to reality, Tanjiro activates the Kagura dance and charges straight at Rui. Fueled by the blood demon technique of Nezuko, he delivers a powerful strike that decapitates Rui. However, it is not enough to defeat him as Rui continues to activate his spider threads for further attacks. Once again, Jiu arrives just in time to rescue Tanjiro. Jiu activates the water-breathing 11th form, rendering Rui's threads ineffective against this technique. He gracefully decapitates Rui and finishes him off. Returning to Rui's sister's memories, Rui used to save her and recruits her as a new member of his family. It doesn't take long for her to realize that this was all a fabricated family game created by Rui. All members of the family must obey Rui's orders, no matter who they are. She always faithfully followed Rui's commands, even if it meant betraying her best friends, but Rui never acknowledged her. Back in reality, she encounters Shinobu and is punished by her with a venomous concoction injected from Shinobu's sword. Rui's childhood memories as a human come flooding back. From a young age, he had a frail body and struggled with every step. However, one night, Mugen suddenly appeared and granted him strength and vitality through demon power. Rui's parents, terrified by his new appearance, decided to eliminate him to prevent him from harming anyone. Disappointed and filled with despair, Rui ended up killing his own parents. Ever since then, he has been haunted by the concept of family. Now, he realizes his mistake, but it's too late as his body slowly fades away. He happily reunites with his parents somewhere in the afterlife. The members of the Demon Slayer Corps are currently receiving treatment there, including Zenitsu and Inosuke. Shinobu, who is present, intends to kill Nezuko because she is a demon. To protect Nezuko, Jiu stays behind to stop Shinobu, giving Tanjiro time to escape with his sister. While fleeing, another member of the Demon Slayer Corps suddenly appears and knocks Tanjiro unconscious. Nezuko takes the advantage to escape. A command has been issued to capture Nezuko and Tanjiro alive and bring them to headquarters. Tanjiro wakes up at the headquarters of the Demon Slayer Corps. Before him are unfamiliar individuals known as the Hashira, the strongest warriors within the Corps. The 9 Hashira include the Flame Hashira Rengoku, the Sound Hashira Tenzin, the Love Hashira Mitsuri, the Stone Hashira Gyomi, the Mist Hashira Michiro, the Serpent Hashira Obanai, the Water Hashira Jiju, the Insect Hashira Shinobu, the Wind Hashira Sanemi, and another individual known as the Master, the leader of the Demon Slayer Corps. Today, there will be a trial for Tanjiro and his siblings. Except for Jiju, most of the Hashiras agree on exterminating Tanjiro due to his act of protecting demons. Despite explaining the circumstances and the innocence of Nezuko, it seems the Hashira still do not accept the two siblings. Sanemi, the wind Hashira, strongly opposes and provokes Tanjiro by stabbing Nezuko through a wooden box. This naturally angers Tanjiro. He rushes toward and injures Sanemi with his head. Just as Sanemi is about to retaliate against Tanjiro, the Lord Oyakata timely intervenes. His overwhelming authority causes the other Hashiras to immediately kneel. He agrees and accepts that Tanjiro and his siblings can continue their path of demon slaying. The reason for this acceptance is a letter sent by a former Hashira, Sakonji. In the letter, Sakonji expresses his desire for the Hashiras to accept Tanjiro and Nezuko because Nezuko still retains her human consciousness. To ensure this truth, Sakonji and Gyomi are willing to commit suicide if Nezuko ever harms humans. However, Sanemi still stubbornly opposes and desires the eradication of demons. To prove his point, he cuts off his own hand and lets his blood flow as bait for Nezuko. If she drinks even a drop of it, she will be executed. After a period of internal struggle, Nezuko has successfully overcome her craving. The Hashira finally accept her, and from now on, they will embark on a journey to exterminate demons as members of the Demon Slayer Corps. After the trial, Shinobu invites Tanjiro to her home to take care of him and Nezuko. There, he encounters Kanao, one of the 4 individuals who passed the final selection. Just like him, Kanao was also chosen by Shinobu to inherit her position. She is quiet and obedient, but an extraordinary girl. While talking to Kanao, another girl appears and leads everyone inside. Inside, Zenitsu and Inosuke are also being treated. Tanjiro and his sister are assigned to rest in a separate room. In that room, Tanjiro expresses his gratitude to Nezuko for protecting him and thanks the Oyakata for saving their lives. That night, the Demon Slayer Corps holds a meeting to discuss the increasing number of demons and the need to recruit more members. They determine to defeat Mugen Kibutsuji. Tanjiro, Zenitsu, and Inosuke participate in a recovery training session, which includes exercises such as bone stretching, reflex training, and overall physical training. Among the 3, only Zenitsu, being the womanizer he is, enjoys the exercises. Despite their daily training, they still cannot catch Kanao's reflexes. She is way too fast. With determination, Tanjiro trains hard in the hope of one day surpassing Kanao. He receives advice from 3 young maids. They suggest he start training by blowing into a gourd until it bursts. He continues to persevere in his training, and after 15 days, he has mostly regained his strength. That night, Shinobu and Tanjiro have a heartfelt conversation on the rooftop, during which he learns that her older sister was murdered by demons. Since then, Shinobu has always harbored a strong desire for revenge. Tanjiro continues his rigorous training by focusing on his breathing 24/7, while Zenitsu and Inosuke appear lazy and uninterested in the exercises. Thanks to Tanjiro's extraordinary efforts, he is able to blow apart a gourd. Witnessing Tanjiro's progress, Zenitsu and Inosuke can't stand idly by and decide to join in the training. Meanwhile, Kanao is fetching water from the well and recalls her painful memories. Since childhood, she had suffered from hunger and constant abuse from her father. One day, her father tried to sell her, but fortunately, luck smiled upon her when she was rescued by the Shinobu sisters. She was cleaned and cared for, but her emotions were lost, and she couldn't even make decisions for herself. Therefore, Shinobu gave her a coin to use for decision-making. The swords of the 3 swordsmen have also been fully forged. After days of hard work, Tanjiro can now keep up with Kanao's speed, and his body has fully recovered. That evening, Tanjiro returns to his room and confides in Nezuko. They are preparing to embark on their next mission. Tanjiro's reflexes are improving day by day, and now he is on par with Kanao. Inosuke and Zenitsu have also made progress through 24/7 breathing training. The scene shifts to a strange space where the space is distorted by the power of a demon playing the instrument. Today, there will be a meeting where all the lower moon demons will be present. Under the pressure of Mugen, who disguised as a girl, everyone must kneel to the ground. The reason for today's meeting is to address the failure of Rui. Mugen believes that the lower moon demons are too weak and need to consume as many humans as possible. A lower moon demon, in a moment of carelessness, has opposing thoughts without knowing that Mugen can read thoughts. Immediately, he is swallowed by Mugen's right arm, and another demon suffers the same fate. A lower moon demon realizes the worsening situation and tries to escape, but he is captured in an instant. Mugen declares the dissolution of the lower moon demon team and keeps only one of them, as he has a satisfactory answer for Mugen. He is injected with a large amount of Mugen's blood and ordered to kill Tanjiro. That night, the trio of Tanjiro, Inosuke, and Zenitsu receives a mission notification to go to the scene on the Infinite Train and meet Pillar Rengoku. A secret is revealed that Tanjiro's father was a user of the sun breathing technique, the first breathing technique and considered the most powerful among all breathing techniques. The next morning, Tanjiro accidentally encounters a boy who also passed the final selection, the same batch as Tanjiro. He tries to start a conversation but receives no response. Tanjiro finds and thanks Aoi, and his farewell words touch her heart to some extent. He also seeks out Kanao, where Tanjiro helps her make decisions for herself without relying on coin tosses anymore. She is grateful and moved by that. He doesn't forget to thank Jiu, the first person to stand up to protect him and Nezuko. The trio bid farewell and set off on their mission. When they arrive, Inosuke is surprised by the sight of a train for the first time and unable to contain his emotions. Crashes into the train. They are then chased by the train station guards and successfully manage to jump onto the train just as it departs. Returning to a day earlier, in recent days, there have been many unexplained murders on the train, so Rengoku decided to investigate the truth. He started a conversation with a woman and their granddaughter who sold meals and asked about the demons. Then he went to a train station which was supposed to be the Infinite Train. He spoke to the station manager and learned that the train was about to depart again tomorrow night. As a gust of malice blew by, Rengoku immediately approached a demon who were attacking the station staff. The demon swiftly attacked Rengoku, but he couldn't retaliate as he was hindered by a hostage. The demon recounted his crimes to provoke Rengoku, and with a single strike of Rengoku's sword, he successfully severed the demon's arm and rescued the hostage. The demon quickly fled and redirected his attack toward the young girl selling meals. Despite being left behind due to doing first aid for the girl, Rengoku caught up to the demon and timely saved the granddaughter. He unleashed a swift strike and decapitated the demon. Suddenly, the elderly woman selling meals recognized a familiar memory flooding back 20 years ago. Shida was saved by someone resembling Rengoku, none other than his father. Dawn approached again, and tonight, the Infinite Train journey would begin. The trio of Tanjiro, Inosuke, and Zenitsu successfully boarded the train and are searching for Rengoku. They found him sitting and enjoying his lunch boxes, praising the delicious food. Tanjiro introduced his two friends to Rengoku, and Rengoku accepted the fact that Nezuko is a demon. They continued their conversation, and during their talk, Tanjiro asked Rengoku about the Hinogami Kagura dance, but Rengoku seemed unaware of it. Since ancient times, there have been 5 basic breathing styles: fire, water, wind, earth, and thunder, from which other breaths originated. While Tanjiro was contemplating his own style, Rengoku invited him to become the successor of his flame breathing style. Upon learning about the recent disappearances of demon slayers on the train, Zenitsu became frightened and demanded to escape. However, the ticket inspector arrived and began checking everyone's tickets. The ticket inspector turned out to be strange and, as expected, a large demon suddenly appeared. With just one move, Rengoku blew off the demon's head, but they realized there was another demon on the train and decided to find it. This demon had long limbs, but again, with a single strike, Rengoku defeated the demon. Impressed by Rengoku's strength, the 3 were enthusiastic and desired to become his disciples. Suddenly, all 4 of them faded away, and the scene shifted to another demon who was giving a mission to a few kids. In exchange, he promised to reunite them with their relatives in their dreams through his blood demon technique. In his dream state, Tanjiro found himself lost in a forest and coincidentally encountered his deceased siblings. He immediately embraced them and cried emotionally. The power of this demon was also revealed. His blood demon technique could submerge humans in dreams and destroy their souls by breaking their spiritual core within their dreams. The children, influenced by the demon's manipulation, also began infiltrating the dreams of the swordsmen through a connecting thread tied to their hands. Tanjiro was completely submerged in this beautiful dream. Zenitsu's dream is not beyond our predictions. He experiences beautiful days with Nezuko. They go through forests and streams happily together. Meanwhile, Inosuke's dream is quite peculiar. In his dream, he, Tanjiro, Inosuke, and Nezuko are all transformed into animal forms and explore a cave together. Rengoku meets his father in his dream and informs him that he has inherited his legacy and become a pillar, but his father appears dissatisfied with it. Although he used to train both Rengoku and his younger brother Sanjuro diligently. Here, we also learn about Rengoku's family situation. His mother passed away due to illness after giving birth to Sanjuro Rengoku's younger brother. A girl successfully infiltrates Rengoku's dream and starts running towards the edge of the dream to destroy the core. The girl discovers the edge of Rengoku's dream, a place extremely hot and covered by flames. She finds the core and begins to act, seemingly successful, but Rengoku, even in his unconscious state, manages to choke her, rendering her unable to move. Returning to Tanjiro, he is still immersed in the illusion and experiences happy days with his family. While fetching water from the stream, he hears his own voice telling him to return to reality, yet he doesn't know how to escape from this dream. Nezuko has now also escaped from the box and is trying to awaken her older brother. With the help of Nezuko's demon blood technique, Tanjiro gradually regains consciousness and starts seeking out the demon. Despite the difficulties, Tanjiro decides to leave this dream of happiness behind and return to reality. The boy, influenced by the demon, has now discovered the edge of Tanjiro's dream. Ironically, it was the dream spirits that led the boy to the core of Tanjiro's mind. Meanwhile, the subconscious realms of Inosuke and Zenitsu posed numerous difficulties for those who entered their dreams. Tanjiro was instructed by his father on how to return, which involved committing suicide within the dream. By doing so, he successfully escaped the dream and then attempted to awaken others, but was attacked by the demon-summoned children. With no other choice, Tanjiro knocked them unconscious. He then entrusted Nezuko with the task of waking everyone up while he went ahead to confront the demon. The demon showed no fear in the face of Tanjiro and constantly taunted him. Tanjiro activated water breathing and lunged forward, but the demon used his blood demon technique to render Tanjiro unconscious. Nevertheless, Tanjiro quickly regained consciousness and continued his assault. The demon's blood technique proved futile against Tanjiro because every time he fell into a dream, he immediately committed suicide to awaken. Finally, after numerous attempts, Tanjiro successfully beheaded the demon. However, instead of dissolving, the demon's body transformed into a larger form. He revealed that this was not his true form as he had merged with the train itself. This meant that all the passengers had now become his hostages. The train started being engulfed by demons due to their large numbers, but Inosuke and Tanjiro arrived just in time to cut them down. However, no matter how much they severed the demons, they could quickly regenerate. At this moment, Nezuko also enlarged herself and fiercely protected the passengers from the demons. For a brief moment, she was apprehended by them, but Zenitsu appeared out of nowhere and rescued her. Rengoku also woke up from his slumber, quickly recognized the situation, and found his way to Tanjiro. A plan was devised with the mission for Tanjiro and Inosuke to locate the demon's neck, while Rengoku, Zenitsu, and Nezuko would protect the train compartments. They split up to carry out their tasks, and Inosuke swiftly identified the demon's position at the front of the train. He launched an attack on the demon's location, but was quickly counterattacked. Tanjiro arrived in time to rescue him. Tanjiro realized that the demon was right beneath his feet, not far away. Inosuke followed suit and sliced through the train floor, discovering the demon's neck. Without hesitation, Tanjiro struck at them, but they immediately regenerated and retaliated. The demon used blood demon technique to try to make both of them fall into a dream state. While Inosuke was immune to them due to his mask, Tanjiro had to continuously strike his own neck within the dream to regain consciousness, nearly harming himself in reality. Fortunately, Inosuke was there in time to stop him. The demon's attacks became increasingly fierce, overpowering Tanjiro and Inosuke in speed and range. They constantly evaded and defended against the onslaught. Eventually, both of them seized the opportunity to counterattack. Inosuke struck the demon, exposing its neck, and Tanjiro immediately utilized the Kagura dance to strike at them. The train was hit by a powerful shock that caused intense shaking and derailed it from the tracks. The demon was completely defeated and gradually dissipated. Tanjiro was temporarily injured and unable to move, so he entrusted the task of rescuing people to Inosuke. Rengoku was present to encourage and help Tanjiro use his breathing technique to stop the bleeding. Just when it seemed like everything was over, suddenly a demon appeared. Through his eyes, we learned that he was upper rank 3, Akaza, one of the members of the Kazuki. He immediately rushed in to finish off Tanjiro, but was swiftly intercepted by Rengoku's burning blade. Despite this, he quickly recovered. The two engaged in a brief conversation, with Akaza urging Rengoku to become a demon, only to be immediately rejected. Akaza activated his blood demon technique, creating a snowflake-shaped barrier around himself, significantly increasing his speed. They clashed at an incredible speed, to the point where Tanjiro couldn't even see their movements. Akaza launched long-range punches in mid-air and injured Rengoku, but he quickly used his flame wall to defend himself. Rengoku decided to take the initiative and attacked Akaza head-on, starting a fierce battle on equal terms. Akaza continuously tempted Rengoku to become a demon, but it only made him angrier. Inosuke and Tanjiro could only stand by and watch, unable to keep up with their speed. After a prolonged fight, Rengoku began to weaken and appeared to be at a disadvantage against Akaza. He unleashed a series of techniques, but Akaza remained unscathed by those blows. Rengoku exhausted himself after unleashing numerous techniques, seemingly reaching the end, but his flames reignited once again. He decided to use a decisive technique to strike at Akaza's neck, with the flames of this technique flowing around his body, thereby increasing the strength of the wielder. He charged forward, creating a dragon of fire and scorching an area. Within that inferno, Rengoku's sword continuously struck Akaza. However, when the flames subsided, Akaza punched through Rengoku's abdomen, and his wounds healed as if nothing had happened. Rengoku reminisced about the memories of his deceased mother, who always loved him and urged him to protect the weak. Returning to reality, he used his sword to strike at Akaza's neck, despite his efforts to escape as dawn approached, but Akaza's body got stuck into Rengoku. Tanjiro and Inosuke also rushed to assist, but he managed to flee into the forest in time. Tanjiro impaled him directly with his sword and did not forget to curse him in his helplessness. Before expiring, Rengoku reminded Tanjiro of the secret of the Kagura dance kept at his home which he had never read. He also asked Tanjiro to send his greetings to his father and younger brother. He used his remaining breath to thank Tanjiro, Nezuko, and his friends for helping him protect everyone. He had reached his limit. His deceased mother appeared and encouraged him, and he departed with a serene smile on his face. The three couldn't hold back their tears and burst into tears of pain. And that was the recap of Demon Slayer Season 2. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the subscribe button to support the channel. I really appreciate that. See you again.